get out of here. Ready for light speed? 1, 2, 3!
Today, let's talk about the book Dune by Frank Herbert, the very first joint winner of the Hugo and Nebula Prize. This is one of the great granddaddies. It's a pillar of science fiction and fantasy, and it is probably the first, quote, space opera. I don't think the Asimov trilogy Foundation really qualifies as that. It has just an enormous expanse. So, the thing about Dune, the first joint winner of the Hugo and Nebula Prizes, how do you sum it up? It's a magnificent story. The protagonist, Paul Atreides, comes from a water planet. He's young, he's affable, he's full of angst, you know, but this was not a kid's book. It's not a teenage, you know, finding yourself book. His dad's really strict. He's a disciplinarian. Leo Atreides, you know, the grand noble. He's one of these feuding lords in space. They get reassigned to the richest planet in the universe that controls the spice. The spice is the key to everything. You cannot have intergalactic travel. Once that's gone, you're a bunch of rocks in space that nobody really cares about, and you're isolated. So everything in this universe revolves around the spice and the worms, and they go on and on and on about that. And it's a fantastical concept as a glue to just hold the whole storyline together, because otherwise, you know, you keep thinking of, oh, well, they have intergalactic battleships that will turn this place into a glass orb of slag. I mean, you can't do that. This planet is the key to everything, and everyone wants a slice of it, and they're gonna murder the shit out of everyone to get it. So it sets up that feudal, medieval backstabbing, and throw in then, you know, the religion aspect of it. The religion aspect of it's got several fold. He goes into Middle Eastern Muslim theocracy in a way that no one had really touched on before. The jihad, the Butlerian jihad, why don't you have artificial intelligence and computers in this universe? Oh, they had gotten rid of it all. It reminds me almost of the line, the single line in Star Wars where they say, oh, your father was in the Clone Wars. They wrote a whole nother book, Brian Herbert, the son, and Brian Anderson. The Butlerian jihad, why is this not an aspect in Dune with machine technology and AI? Because they're so advanced, they have this incredible civilization. There's just one line, the Butlerian jihad wiped out artificial intelligence because they discovered, well, these became overlords in and of themselves and controlled the fate of human civilization. So sometime in the past, they got rid of it all. So now you've got this weird technological future without an overriding computer system telling you what to do. So that brings out this, again, this medieval system of feudal overlords that somehow, even though they're murdering each other, they've agreed no longer to use artificial intelligence. And they have to do it kind of in an old-fashioned way. So when you go into the desert, you have these guys wearing these amazing high-tech suits that keep them alive without losing a molecule of water, but they're living in a cave. It's one of the things that, you know, that makes this book so extraordinary. But it has, you know, a reason. There's a function. There's a framework that makes sense. And again, it goes back to the spice and the evolution and the other religions, the Bene Gesserit, and the also pseudo Jedi aspect qualities of these evolved beings, and how that enters into, you know, this hero, and he becomes the ultimate production of thousands of years of distilled genetics, and all fulfilling this prophesized role in the space opera. Okay, I hope I didn't give away too much about the book in that review, but you can understand then why. I mean, it's just an epic beyond epics. Let's get straight into the meat and potatoes. It would rate in our lightsaber rating system a 5.1. Our system only goes up to 5. It is perfectly well written as a story. The storyline is extraordinary. It makes more sense than the Bible. It involves politics, space races, intergalactic warfare, Machiavellian machinations by overlord clans of overlords. Its characters are so endearing. I read it first in, God, how old was I? It was 17 years old. That was a long time ago. This is not a fake beard. So I only reread it recently because I wanted to review it with the new Dune movie coming out. Now, with the new Dune movie coming out, unfortunately not until October of 2021, I wanted to be ready to enjoy this film to the full extent, because it looks like it's going to be a real blockbuster. So I reread the book, and I appreciated it much, much more than I did as a teenager, because I think there's a lot more depth to it than I really even appreciated as a 17-year-old. You know, back then I thought, ooh, space worms, smoke a little spice. That was it. There are no books I can think of that stand the test of time like that, and are even more appreciated the older and wiser you get. So, again, to prepare for the upcoming Dune movie, the book itself is obviously where you start. Now, whether or not you want to go on to the rest of the Dune series, there's a lot of debate online about that. You don't really need to. There's an enormous amount of books, the vast majority of them being written by his son, Brian Herbert, and then also Brian Anderson of the Star Wars writing fame. It's like reading the Silmarillion. How much background material do you really need to enjoy the book? That said, you have time. It doesn't come out for another year. So also in preparation for getting ready for the big Dune movie, I went and rewatched the original David Lynch film. Not easy watching. He flushes out a lot of the visuals in an extraordinary way. But in the hour-and-a-half film, there's no way to capture the depth of the book. So I went on to watch the 3-part sci-fi series of Dune. That took a very different take on how to present it in a movie format. So, in addition to that, I went and watched the Jodorowsky documentary about the best Dune movie that was never made. That came out in 2013. That is also an extraordinary chapter in Dune appreciation. Add it all together, I think it's enough. I mean, you'll be more than ready to watch this film. So, getting back to the rating. For our green lightsaber, in terms of literature, it didn't quite rate a 5. It's not fantastic prose, but in every other category, it blew away our categories. It's a 5.1 for the red lightsaber, which is storytelling. It is so magnetic. It just pulls you along. I went through that book non-stop. I don't remember breathing. For the blue originality lightsaber and the big idea lightsaber, it's also a 5.1. it was mesmerizing, incredibly original, incorporating, you know, elements like, again, of space opera that, well, frankly, Frank Herbert ended up wanting to sue Lucas many times over the years because he kept seeing reflections of the space opera of Star Wars in his own works. He never got the right lawyer for that, so it didn't happen. Overall, 5.1 purple lightsabers. It is the, you know, it is beyond the standard of standards. It's a classic, and has stood the test of time better than probably any sci-fi work in its class. Give us thumbs up, all 4. Subscribe below today, or whichever time unit your planet uses.